Let me talk to you about ballyhoo and slow trolling for Wahoo. Welcome to the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet. Let's get into it right away, guys. So I have a new blog that's available on my website, goodkarmasportfishing.com. So let me walk you through it. Okay. So I'm going to put up my good old share screen here for you. And just give me a second here. I am not the best at tech. I am a full-time charter boat captain, and that's what I do for a living. I don't make videos every day. So you will see a lot of authenticity when it comes to me fumbling around on here. So let's dig into it. Okay. So I have a new blog out, and it is called The Science Behind Why. This I'm going to read it to you. The Science Behind Why Ballyhoo Are Good Slow Trolling Bait for Wahoo. Now, also too, what I teach you can use for trolling for tuna, you can use for trolling for whatever else, dolphin. So anyhow, so you go to the Good Karma Sport Fishing blog website and you go to blog. I have various blogs here. Also have one here for grouper trolling, which is very good right now. So if you want to learn some secrets about grouper trolling, I leave one really good nugget in there. And I like to bury nuggets in all of my blogs. It's kind of like a nice little fun treasure hunt, and it will change the way that that you're thinking about it. And groupers like it presented in one direction sometimes. And as far as the trolling goes, and I share that with you guys, along with some other tips about how to grouper troll and like communication and what you should be doing. It's nothing like setting it and forgetting about it because you're trolling in shallow water. So go through the blog. I write everything down for you. Okay. How to rig ballyhoo for slow trolling. I want to talk a little bit about that. So, my love for ballyhoo, I talk about my love for ballyhoo, man. It's crazy. But anyhow, when I first started wahoo fishing in the Keys, it's been over 10, over 13 years ago. I remember cutting open my first wahoo down here, and a whole bunch of flying fish laying out all over the table. I was like, wow, damn, man. So ever since then, I've been like fascinated with trolling dead baits for wahoo. I just like it. It's just like everybody has their own preference. Some people like to troll bonito strips. Some people like to high speed fish. I love to troll dead baits. I like to come up with new ways to do it. I like to make my own lures for wahoo fishing. I like to tie my own lures, and just something very rewarding about catching a fish on a bait that you've tied yourself. Okay, and a ballyhoo that you rigged by yourself. That's not like that's an out of the ordinary bait. Okay. So when I say out of the ordinary baits, that means that there's a lot of secrets out there, and there's a lot of things that guys do all over the world when it comes to rigging ballyhoo. And in the new Ballyway three-way course, I show you three of my favorites. Okay. One specific one in there is one of my absolute favorites. Okay. So you'll have to check it out and see. And also too in the blogs now, I'm starting to put some small videos in here that you cannot find on YouTube. So I've taken some content and I walk you through it. As you listen to these videos, you'll pick up little nuggets because that's just how I am. So I'm not going to spoon feed it to you. You have to work for it, meaning that it's there. You just have to listen. Okay. So, and also too, excuse me. Uh, you can see that in the video here, you can see me catching all these wahoo. I have titanium leader on there. Okay, short piece. And then in the new course, I teach you guys how I make my titanium leader setups. So for trolling, I like titanium if for trolling, man. It's badass. Doesn't reflect a lot of light. It's kind of, I can look at it like bright wire, which is I consider bright wire like very good for wahoo fishing. Uh, so with that being said, I'm not a huge fan of bright wire because it kinks. It doesn't give it enough. It doesn't stretch very much. But with titanium, there's a little bit of stretch there and helps with the hook set. Not to mention is that you can use it like it doesn't like coil up, and you can use it over and over again. And it's black. I mean, it's just depending on what the water color and the sky's doing. I'd rather have something that's black or gray, to kind of because they can see, especially if you're running baits a little bit deeper. If it's running the prop wash, they can't really see much. Or if you're running a little slower, like I do, like I troll like 10 miles an hour, that's slow. Okay, compared to 15 to 17 miles an hour for high speed. When you're high speed fishing, man, let her rip. Use heavy wire, cable, whatever. So anyhow, so I walk you through Wahoo alongside the boat, especially the small ones. I call them flippers because most of the time, you can flip those fish in or you can fling them in because they're already tired when they get to the boat. A big one is something different. I talk about the optical illusion and rigging baits. And then also about selecting ballyhoo. Like there's a time where I'll like, depending on the time of year, I'll go through and I'll rig ballyhoo based on the bait that I feel that the fish are targeting, like the fish are feeding on. There's certain times of year when the wahoos are just ferociously feeding on uh, blackfin tuna, and you can throw anything at them, man. They won't eat it because they're so keyed in on blackfins. So you have to make some changes in your presentation to make your baits look like blackfin tunas. So that's where I get into horse-sized ballyhoos and rigging. And when you're rigging horse-sized ballyhoos, there's lots of tricks to those because that's a whole lot of fish for that fish to eat. So you have to get a couple hooks in there to make them, you're going to get the bite, but you got to get that hook set a little further back and then some other stuff to get the tail to work the way you need to get the fish to eat it and get it, get the attention that it needs to. And that's the stuff I go over with you guys in the ballyhoo three-way course. Okay. There is a secret to getting the tail and getting that back in to do what it needs to do. So I walk you through, and I also put an old rigging video in there. Be cautious when you watch it because there's music in there. And back in the day, back in 2019, that was the cool thing to do was to put music in the videos. Woohoo! Gotta love YouTube. Science behind slow trolling, why I do it. I like, one thing about everybody talks about rigging a pretty bait. Oh, that bait looks so pretty in the water. It swims like a snake. Well, let me tell you what, fish are not that dumb. Okay. And you could put like I've had guys that have been fishing with me that like they'll rig a bait and then it swims so pretty and then I'll sometimes I'll like even like okay go ahead and put that bait out and put that bait out. Let's see what's going to get first. And sure enough, the bait that looks wounded gets hit. Okay. So what happens is that when you make a bait swim like a snake, a ballyhoo doesn't swim like that. A tuna doesn't swim like that. So it's not natural. A needlefish, kinda, you know, a flying fish sure the hell doesn't swim like that. And one thing too, guys, just to let you know, is that when a prefrontal in November, October, December full moons, these fish are spawning, they're eating a lot. So they're not as finicky. Okay, they're not as finicky. But when it starts getting colder, it starts getting when the fish have been hammered more up and down the coastline. These fish migrate from point A from point B. They're getting fished a lot more. So if you get lucky, sorry, I had something in my eye there. If you get lucky, you're going to hit a flight day, I call it, where you got like nobody there. Fish just migrated in. You catch 10. Fish are stupid because they just got in there. They just moved in. There's nobody there, nobody diving on them. You catch a bunch of fish and look like a hero. Okay. That's what happens. I call those flight days. My dad and I used to have those when we were duck hunting. So we'd be out in the like sitting there. And I remember flight days where you're like a whole like looked like a damn tornado of mallards dropping on top of you. And you're like, wow, this is intense. So that's what I would consider a day when you get a migration of fish that push into the Keys and nobody's there and you're just happen to be there and the fish eat everything. So here's to you guys having a flight day because it's unbelievable and it can happen anytime. Okay, so iridescence, very important. You want the flash of the value, hence why sometimes having a chin rig bait, having him swim really nice. He's swimming really nice, but is he turning? Is he catching that light right? Does he look too nice? If he looks too nice, think about it. Okay. So it's just like when you're out there and you're fishing, like I'll look at kudas, for example. Like when you're yellowtail fishing and you got like kudas in there and as you're bringing in the yellowtail, the fish will, the kudas go apeshit on it and eat it. Okay. But you throw out like a live bait, like let's say if you have some live blue runners, like some big blue runners or something in your well, and you throw it out there and that cuda just basically avoids it. It's like he doesn't eat it. But when you take that blue runner back into the boat and you cut him and let him bleed a little bit, let him swim a little bit unnatural, that cuda goes apeshit on him. Now, also too, you've also fed the CUDA and he's pretty much done. And then you've got your yellowtails back for you. So there you go. So something to think about. Also too, I never poop ballyhoo. Never, especially when you're skipping baits. I don't have any problems with my baits washing out because I brine them correctly. Speaking of brine, in the Good Karma rigging crew, tomorrow they will have a video on how to brine and this like what and my secrets that I've been using for years to get the bait to do what it needs to do over long periods of time. So, and also too, if you're a bonito strip fisherman, there is a secret to getting that bonito strip to swim all day, like for many hours. I shouldn't say all day, correctly toward what doesn't wash out. There's all these other different stuff that you use to make things happen. Okay. So, and that's something that I'm going to share a few little tips in the Good Karma Rigging Crew 2.0 videos. When you sign up for Good Karma Rigging Crew 2.0, you have some videos that are available for you to watch while you're a member. And also too, I kind of changed things up in there. We have what we do is I'm putting some stuff in there as well along the way, and I'll make a video upon request. A lot of guys have requests of what they want. I'll give them, what they want to see and how they want it, and then I'll pick it. I'll make a video, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A once a month. We'll do a live Q&A where they can ask questions about it and all that stuff. Then we, throw a layer in a few other things in there. But also too, in the blog, I talk about Wahoo and smell. Listen, everybody says smell doesn't matter. 100% it does. And especially when the fish are really finicky. So when you're picking out ballyhoo, especially if you're coming down, you're at the last minute, you need to get some good ballyhoo. When you walk into a store and you flash open the store, you look at the package, and I gotta tell you what, if their eyes look off or if there's like other stinky bait in there along with your ballyhoo, just remember, you don't know how long that ballyhoo's been in there. And if the cooler is not like a deep freeze, it gets flashed. Okay. And then over the course of the day, that bait starts to kind of thaw out. Okay. And also, too, when it thaws a little bit, you've also got the moisture that comes like that your vacuum seal does not protect outer smells. So you've got all that shit smell leaches through the plastic and gets into the bait. Okay. You may not be able to smell it, but the fish do. So when selecting ballyhoo, be very cautious. I do not want to pick ballyhoo out of a brine either. So if you go into a shop and you've got brine there with ice in it, and look into the brine, be smart. And like I said, it's some of the brine is meant to make the bait look pretty, so you buy it. It's like that's the oldest trick in the book that we used to do in the food industry was we put a little whitener in it to make it look nice, but yeah, it didn't really. It was just meant for the consumer. So anyhow, and also too, people stick their hands into that shit. You don't know what that guy's like. If that guy lathered up with suntan lotion and stuff, that scent just gets into the brine and salt takes on the smell. So I walk you through that. Also too, when storing your dead bait at home, for myself, I have one, it's like everybody's, oh, I don't have any deep freezes. Well, you can do this. I mean, you can buy a cheap ass deep freeze. If you can afford to put boat gas in your boat and do all this other shit, you can afford to take care of your bait. Okay. You get a cheap deep freeze from Home Depot, set it up, work it out with your wife. If your wife's being hard on you about where to put it, then hey, man, that's something to think about as well. It takes two, especially with hobbies and stuff. But set up a freezer, one for your solid bait, one for the bait that you really are you going to use for wahoo this season, or for groupers, or for mutton snappers. Then you have a smaller freezer, like a B freezer, like B freezer I call it. That's for your subpar bait, stuff that you're thinking about using for like um, chum, grinding up, cuts, chunks for dolphin, that kind of stuff. But always keep your A baits separate from your B baits to avoid that cross contamination of smells. Okay. So very important, very important. And like I said, when you go in and buy bait out of glass freezers and stuff, especially if you come in at the end of the day, it's 95 degrees outside, just know that freezer's been flashed and that bait's kind of subpar melted. Your best bet down here, if you're coming down here to buy ballyhoo, is to go to the Key Largo Fisheries and get it out of their blast freezer. And then their bait, they take really good care of their bait. There's also other ballyhoo suppliers that take very good of their bait as well. So that you can source out on your own. Okay, I go through and I tell you with some quality checks and all that other good stuff. But yes, it's something to think about. So yeah, that's the blog. Okay, I'm going to stop the share here. Now, if you want to learn how to brine ballyhoo like I do, then you can sign up for the Good Karma Rigging Crew 2.0. The link is in the show notes. Okay. And if you also want to learn a couple of new techniques, and a lot of people get stuck in their ways. Oh, it's like, yeah, whatever. Just keep on doing it. Okay. Just keep on doing it the way you're doing it. Okay. Please do. But for you guys that want to like take it to the next level, I've got the Ballyhoo rigging courses. The three-way is available at goodkarmafishingtackle.com. That link is in the show notes as well. But you know, don't buy it because you might learn something. Oh my God. Anyhow, oh, okay. If you're looking to go fishing this fall, do some wahoo fishing, do some mutton snapper fishing, do some black groupers fishing, have availability, you can email me at goodkarmaryan@gmail.com and get set up for a charter, especially if you want to come down in the month of December for last call for black groupers. Most of the trips, if I always ask guys, and most of the trips we're doing some wahoo fishing and we're doing some grouper fishing. And then yellowtails are always there. Windy days, patch reef fishing. Okay. Patch reefs are where it's at. And for you guys that want to like dig into a little bit more information about patch reefs, I have the Patch Reef 2.0 course that we're running right now. And for those that think you know everything, good. Don't buy the course, please. Don't buy it. Okay. But for you guys that are like the guys that know. Um, so I'm infusing some really good stuff into the Q&A. So also too, like I have a blog, I've got it updated. So you go through my blogs here and go all the way to the very end. I've got so many blogs and so many good resources for folks that want to get better and want to read and like that stuff and people that actually read still. But you can go to, oh, what's that? That's an old school podcast I did many years ago. And then look at all that good. And then I'll show you, um, put up a share screen for you. Oh, what's this new one? What is Patry fishing? Oh, you got a lot of stuff in there. I'm just going to scroll through. There you go. Go find it. Looking forward to seeing my clients this fall. Guys, that's all I got for today. God bless America. And remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good.